A young millionaire decides to change his name and city, pretending to be poor to find true love, but he did not expect this revelation. Please consider subscribing to the channel to support our projects. William Thompson stood at the pinnacle of wealth and privilege, the young heir to the Thompson fortune. With striking blue eyes and perfectly styled dark hair, he cut an impressive figure in any social setting. Despite his outward confidence and charm, William was deeply dissatisfied with his life. His immense wealth, passed down through generations, had always been a double-edged sword. He enjoyed the luxuries and conveniences it provided, but despised the insincerity it attracted. William's relationships were invariably tainted by his financial status. Friends, lovers, even casual acquaintances seemed more enamored with his bank account than with him. Lavish parties at his sprawling mansion, endless luxury vacations, and high-end social events were filled with superficial interactions. People fawned over him, but William saw through the hollow compliments and the empty smiles. The more he was surrounded by wealth, the more isolated he felt. One evening, after yet another tiresome gala, William sat alone in his grand study, surrounded by artifacts and paintings that spoke of his family's legacy. The solitude was palpable. He poured himself a glass of the finest whiskey, his thoughts heavy. He longed for genuine connection, for someone who could see past the opulence and appreciate him for who he truly was. Driven by a desire to escape the gilded cage of his life, William hatched a plan. He would step away from the glitz and glamour, shedding his wealthy persona. He would reinvent himself as an ordinary man, living a modest life where no one knew his true identity. With this new guise, he hoped to find someone who loved him for his character, his kindness, and his heart. William meticulously prepared for his transformation. He selected a modest apartment in a quaint neighborhood far from his usual haunts. He traded his designer suits for simple, comfortable clothes and left behind his luxury car for an old, reliable sedan. He even adopted a new name, Bill, embracing this new identity fully. As he stood in his penthouse, ready to leave it all behind, William felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This would be the ultimate test of his character and his beliefs. He was determined to find real love, even if it meant leaving behind the life he had always known. With a final glance at the opulence he was forsaking, William closed the door on his old life and stepped into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever came next. Settling into his new life as Bill, William Thompson moved into a small, modest apartment in a quiet, unassuming neighborhood. The building was old but well kept, with ivy creeping up the brick walls and flower boxes in many of the windows. The atmosphere was a far cry from the opulence he had left behind. Here, life moved at a slower, more deliberate pace, and William welcomed the change. Bill's new home was a cozy, one-bedroom apartment on the third floor. The furniture was secondhand but comfortable, the decor simple yet warm. He felt an unfamiliar sense of peace as he unpacked his few belongings, savoring the quiet. The transition from his grand penthouse to this humble abode was stark, but it was exactly what he needed. The noise and clamor of his former life felt worlds away. Seeking a way to integrate into his new community, Bill found a job at a small, independently owned bookstore just a few blocks from his apartment. The shop, Pages of Time, was a charming place filled with the comforting scent of aged paper and the soft murmur of turning pages. The owner, Mr. Harris, was a kind, elderly man who welcomed Bill warmly, grateful for the extra help. Bill's days were now filled with the simple pleasures of working in the bookstore. He enjoyed the routine tasks of sorting books, helping customers find their next read, and engaging in friendly conversations. He found solace in the quiet moments, flipping through the pages of classic novels and discovering new stories. His new neighbors were an eclectic mix of people, each with their own unique stories and backgrounds. There was Mrs. Donovan, a retired schoolteacher with a passion for gardening, who often shared her homegrown vegetables with Bill. Across the hall lived Jake, a young musician who played the guitar on his balcony every evening, filling the air with soulful melodies. Bill also met the Hernandez family, who lived downstairs. They were a lively bunch, always inviting him over for family dinners filled with laughter and delicious homemade food. Through these interactions, Bill began to form genuine connections, something he had longed for in his previous life. As the weeks passed, Bill found himself growing fond of his new, simpler life. He appreciated the honesty and authenticity of the people around him. There were no ulterior motives, no expectations of wealth or status. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged. In this modest neighborhood, William, now Bill, began to understand the true value of relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care. The luxury and extravagance he once knew seemed like distant memories, replaced by the warmth and sincerity of his new friends. This new chapter of his life was unfolding in ways he had never imagined, filling him with a sense of fulfillment he hadn't realized he was missing. One crisp autumn morning, as Bill was restocking the shelves at Pages of Time, he heard the tinkling of the bell above the door, signaling a customer's arrival. Looking up, he saw a young woman with a warm smile and kind eyes walk in. She had long, chestnut hair tied back in a loose ponytail and was dressed in a simple yet elegant way. This was Emma Johnson, the bookstore's newest employee. Emma introduced herself to Bill with a cheerful, "Hi, I'm Emma. Mr. Harris hired me to help out here. It's my first day." Her voice had a melodic quality that immediately put Bill at ease. He welcomed her warmly, feeling an instant connection. Over the next few days, Bill and Emma quickly fell into a comfortable routine. They worked side by side, chatting about their favorite books, sharing recommendations, and discovering a shared love for classic literature and poetry. Bill found Emma's enthusiasm for books infectious. She had a knack for finding beauty in the simplest stories, and her genuine passion for reading was refreshing. Their conversations often drifted beyond books. They talked about their lives, their dreams, and their values. Bill was struck by Emma's kindness and her unwavering optimism despite the challenges she faced. She mentioned that she worked multiple jobs to support herself and her younger brother, who was still in school. Her dedication to her family resonated deeply with Bill, who admired her strength and resilience. Emma, in turn, appreciated Bill's quiet demeanor and thoughtful nature. He was unlike anyone she had met before, humble, sincere, and surprisingly knowledgeable about a wide range of topics. She found herself looking forward to their shifts together, enjoying the easy camaraderie that had developed between them. One afternoon, as they were organizing a new shipment of books, a light rain began to fall outside. The soft patter of raindrops against the windows created a cozy atmosphere inside the bookstore. Emma, ever the romantic, commented on how perfect the day was for reading. Bill smiled, agreeing, and suggested they each pick a favorite book and read a passage aloud. It was a simple, yet intimate moment that strengthened their bond. As days turned into weeks, their friendship blossomed. They began spending time together outside of work, exploring the neighborhood, attending local events, and enjoying long walks in the nearby park. They discovered they had much in common, not just their love for books, but also their perspectives on life, their appreciation for simple joys, and their belief in the importance of kindness and integrity. Bill found himself increasingly drawn to Emma, not just as a friend, but as someone who made him feel truly seen and understood. He valued their time together and cherished the authenticity of their relationship. Emma, too, felt a deepening connection with Bill, appreciating his steady presence and the quiet strength he exuded. In Emma, Bill saw a reflection of the life he wanted, a life grounded in genuine connections, shared values, and mutual respect. Their growing friendship was a beacon of hope for him, a sign that he was on the right path in his search for real, meaningful relationships. As Bill and Emma spent more time together, their bond grew stronger and deeper. They often met outside of work, exploring the quaint streets of their neighborhood or enjoying quiet afternoons in the local park. The changing seasons provided a beautiful backdrop for their blossoming relationship. Spring brought vibrant flowers and the promise of new beginnings, while summer's warmth invited them to linger longer in each other's company. On weekends, they attended community events, from local farmers markets to neighborhood festivals. One particularly memorable day was spent at a community fair, where they laughed and cheered each other on in various games and activities. Bill cherished these moments of pure, unfiltered joy, feeling a connection to Emma that he had never experienced before. Their conversations became more intimate, delving into personal hopes, fears, and dreams. Emma shared stories of her childhood, her struggles, and her aspirations for a better future. Bill, in turn, opened up about his own past, carefully navigating around the details of his wealthy background while still being honest about his desire for a genuine life. Emma's empathy and understanding made him feel safe, and he appreciated the absence of judgment in her eyes. They supported each other through difficult times as well. When Emma's brother fell ill, Bill was there, offering comfort and practical help. He accompanied her to the hospital, stayed by her side through sleepless nights, and reassured her with his calm presence. Emma was grateful for Bill's unwavering support, feeling a sense of security she had long yearned for. Likewise, Emma was a pillar of strength for Bill. When he faced challenges at work or struggled with the emotional weight of his secret, Emma's kind words and gentle encouragement lifted his spirits. Her belief in him, her quiet faith in his goodness, made him feel like he could conquer any obstacle. Their shared moments were not always grand. Often, it was the simple, everyday activities that deepened their connection. They cooked meals together, walked hand in hand through the park, and spent evenings reading to each other. Each small act, each shared experience, wove their lives more tightly together. As their friendship transitioned into a romantic relationship, Bill felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He realized that in Emma, he had found someone who saw him for who he truly was, beyond the facade he had created. Her love was sincere, grounded in their shared values and mutual respect. For Emma, Bill was a breath of fresh air, a grounding presence in her often chaotic life. His kindness, humility, and genuine nature made her feel cherished and valued. She found herself falling for him more each day, drawn to the person he was, not the possessions he might have. Together, they created a world where authenticity and love reigned supreme. Bill, in his heart, knew that he had found something extraordinary, someone who loved him for his true self. This realization brought him a profound sense of peace and happiness, and he eagerly looked forward to the future they would build together. One quiet evening, as the soft glow of the setting sun filtered through the windows, Emma and Bill sat together in her small living room. They had spent the day at the park, enjoying a leisurely picnic, and now, with the evening settling in, they found themselves in a deeply reflective mood. Emma looked at Bill, her eyes carrying a weight of unspoken memories. "Bill, there's something I've been meaning to share with you," she began, her voice tinged with both hesitation and resolve. Bill took her hand in his eyes encouraging her to continue. Taking a deep breath, Emma began to recount her past. She told Bill about her childhood, how she grew up in an orphanage after being abandoned as a baby. The orphanage, though providing the basic necessities, was a place where she often felt alone and unwanted. Emma described the cold dormitories, the strict routines, and the fleeting friendships that came and went as children were adopted or aged out of the system. Despite these hardships, Emma had always harbored a deep-seated hope of finding her biological family. She told Bill about the nights she spent staring at the ceiling, dreaming of a mother and father who would come to take her home. Emma's voice cracked slightly as she recalled the countless disappointments, the families who chose other children, and the day she finally aged out of the orphanage with no family to call her own. Bill listened intently, his heart aching with each word Emma spoke. He could see the pain in her eyes, the scars left by years of longing and rejection. Yet, there was also a resilience in her, a strength that had carried her through those dark times. He felt a surge of admiration and sorrow for the little girl she had been and the incredible woman she had become. Emma shared how, despite the challenges, she managed to build a life for herself. She worked multiple jobs to support her and her younger brother, whom she considered her only family. She spoke of the fierce determination that drove her to keep going, to seek out happiness and stability in a world that had often been unkind to her. Moved by her story, Bill's eyes glistened with unshed tears. He felt an overwhelming urge to help her, to be there for her in a way no one else had been. "Emma," he said softly, squeezing her hand gently, "I promise I'll help you find out more about your past. We'll do this together." Emma looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude and a newfound hope. "Thank you, Bill. That means more to me than you can imagine," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. From that moment on, Bill was determined to assist Emma in her quest to uncover her origins. He began to research adoption records and contact agencies, driven by a desire to help the woman he had come to love deeply. Emma's story had touched him profoundly, and he vowed to support her every step of the way, hoping that together they could uncover the family she had always dreamed of finding. One crisp afternoon, as Bill was organizing books at the shop, the bell above the door rang, signaling a new customer. He looked up, expecting to see a familiar face, but instead, his heart sank. Standing there was Michael, one of his closest friends from his previous life. Michael's eyes scanned the small bookstore until they landed on Bill, and they widened in shock. "Will, is that you?" Michael exclaimed, striding forward. The use of his real name sent a jolt of panic through Bill. He quickly walked over to his friend, ushering him towards a quieter corner of the store. "Michael, what are you doing here?" Bill hissed under his breath, trying to maintain a calm facade while his mind raced. Michael, still bewildered, replied, "I've been trying to reach you for months. No one knew where you went. I got worried, so I started looking for you. And now I find you here, in a bookstore of all places." Bill took a deep breath, glancing around to ensure Emma was still busy helping a customer on the other side of the store. "Listen, Mike, I can't explain everything right now. I'm living a different life here. My name is Bill, and no one here knows about my past. You have to keep this to yourself." Michael frowned, clearly struggling to understand. Why would you leave everything behind? What's going on? Before Bill could respond, Emma approached them, her curiosity piqued by the tense conversation. "Bill, is everything okay?" she asked, her eyes darting between the two men. Bill forced a smile, his heart pounding. "Yes, everything's fine, Emma. This is an old friend of mine, Michael. He was just passing through and thought he'd stop by." Emma extended her hand warmly. "Nice to meet you, Michael. Any friend of Bill's is a friend of mine." Michael shook her hand, still looking puzzled but playing along. "Nice to meet you too, Emma." Sensing the need to defuse the situation, Bill quickly added, "Emma, could you excuse us for a moment? Michael and I have a bit of catching up to do." Emma nodded, smiling politely before returning to her tasks. Once she was out of earshot, Bill turned back to Michael, his voice urgent. "Mike, please, you can't say anything about who I really am. I'm trying to find something real here, something genuine. I'll explain everything later, but for now, just trust me." Michael studied Bill's face, seeing the earnestness in his eyes. After a long pause, he nodded. "All right, Bill, I won't say anything, but we need to talk soon." I'm still worried about you." Bill sighed in relief. "Thank you, Michael. I promise we'll talk soon. Just not here, not now." Michael gave Bill a pat on the back before leaving the store, casting one last confused glance over his shoulder. Bill watched him go, feeling the weight of his secret bearing down on him more heavily than ever. He knew he needed to be more careful. The risk of Emma discovering the truth too soon was now very real, and he couldn't bear the thought of losing her trust. One quiet evening, after the bookstore had closed, Bill and Emma found themselves alone, tidying up the last few shelves. The air was filled with the comforting scent of old books and the soft hum of the city outside. They had spent the day laughing and talking, and now, as the silence settled in, a deeper, unspoken connection lingered between them. Bill glanced at Emma, who was carefully placing books back on the shelf, her face illuminated by the warm glow of the overhead lights. His heart felt heavy with the words he had been holding back, the emotions he had kept hidden. Taking a deep breath, he decided that now was the time to be honest. "Emma," he began softly, his voice slightly trembling, "there's something I need to tell you." Emma turned to him, her eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of concern. "What is it, Bill?" Bill stepped closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "I've been struggling to find the right moment to say this, but I can't keep it to myself any longer. Emma, I've fallen in love with you. You're the most amazing person I've ever met, and I can't imagine my life without you." For a moment, there was silence. Emma's eyes widened in surprise, and then softened as a smile spread across her face. She took a step towards him, closing the distance between them. "Bill," she said, her voice filled with warmth and sincerity, "I've fallen in love with you too. I've been scared to admit it because I didn't want to ruin what we have, but hearing you say it now, it feels right." Bill felt a rush of relief and joy wash over him. He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. "You have no idea how much this means to me, Emma. I've been waiting for someone like you my whole life." Emma's eyes sparkled with happiness as she leaned into his touch. "I feel the same way, Bill. You're everything I've ever hoped for." With those words, they closed the final gap between them, their lips meeting in a tender, heartfelt kiss. It was a moment of pure connection, their emotions intertwining in a beautiful, unspoken promise of love and devotion. From that evening on, their relationship blossomed into a deep, romantic bond. They spent their days working side by side at the bookstore and their evenings exploring the city, sharing their dreams and supporting each other's goals. The love they had confessed to one another became the foundation of their relationship, a source of strength and joy that carried them through the challenges they faced. Bill felt like he had finally found his true home, not in a grand mansion or a life of luxury, but in the heart of the woman he loved. Emma, in turn, felt a sense of completeness and happiness she had never known before. Together, they built a life filled with love, trust, and the promise of a beautiful future. Bill had been wrestling with his conscience for weeks. He knew he couldn't keep his true identity a secret from Emma any longer. She deserved the truth, and he wanted their relationship to be built on complete honesty. One evening, he decided that the time had come. He would tell her everything. He planned a quiet dinner at his apartment, hoping the intimate setting would help ease the shock of his revelation. As he prepared the meal, his mind raced with thoughts of how she might react. Would she be angry, hurt, or understand why he had done it? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he steeled himself with the resolve to be truthful. Meanwhile, Emma was at her own apartment, sorting through some old belongings she had stored away. Among the boxes, she found a small, weathered trunk that had belonged to her parents. Inside, she discovered an array of keepsakes, photographs, trinkets, and letters that she had never seen before. One letter, in particular, caught her attention. The envelope was yellowed with age, and the ink was faded, but it was still legible. She carefully unfolded the letter and began to read. Her eyes widened as she absorbed the contents. The letter was from her biological mother, written shortly before Emma was abandoned at the orphanage. The letter revealed startling information. Her mother had been involved with a member of the Thompson family, a name that immediately resonated with Emma. The letter mentioned secrets and reasons why Emma had to be given up, hinting at a connection to the wealthy Thompson lineage. Emma's heart raced as she read the letter over and over, trying to piece together the fragments of her past. Confused and overwhelmed, Emma decided she needed to speak with Bill. She grabbed the letter and rushed to his apartment, her mind swirling with questions and emotions. When she arrived, she found Bill setting the table, his face lighting up with a smile when he saw her. "Emma, I'm glad you're here. There's something I need to tell you," Bill began. But Emma cut him off, holding up the letter. "Bill, I need to talk to you too. I found this letter from my mother. It mentions the Thompson family. Do you know anything about this?" Her voice was urgent, her eyes searching his face for answers. Bill's heart sank as he realized what she had discovered. The moment he had dreaded was unfolding in front of him, but not in the way he had planned. He took a deep breath, knowing there was no turning back now. "Emma, please sit down," he said gently. "There's something I need to explain." As they sat down together, Bill took her hands in his and began to reveal the truth about his identity, his wealth, and his reasons for hiding it. He explained how he had come to live a humble life in search of genuine connections, and how his feelings for her had grown into something real and profound. Emma listened, her emotions a tumultuous mix of shock, betrayal, and understanding. She couldn't believe the man she loved was part of the very family mentioned in her mother's letter. The revelation left her reeling, unsure of what to think or feel. Bill could see the turmoil in her eyes. "Emma, I never meant to deceive you. I wanted to tell you everything, but I was afraid of losing you. Please understand that my love for you is real." Emma took a moment to process everything, her mind racing with the implications of what she had learned. Finally, she looked at Bill, tears brimming in her eyes. "This changes everything, Bill. I need time to think." Bill nodded, his heart heavy with fear and regret. "Take all the time you need, Emma. I'll be here, waiting for you." As Emma left his apartment, clutching the letter, Bill knew that their relationship was now at a crossroads. He could only hope that the love they had built would be strong enough to withstand the truth and the challenges it brought with it. The next day, Emma arrived at the bookstore with a heavy heart and a determined look in her eyes. She had spent the night wrestling with her thoughts, trying to make sense of everything Bill had revealed. As soon as she saw him, she knew she needed answers. "Bill, we need to talk," she said, her voice firm yet tinged with a trace of sadness. Bill nodded, leading her to the small break room in the back of the store where they could have some privacy. Once inside, Emma wasted no time. "Why didn't you tell me who you really are? Why let me find out like this?" Her voice cracked slightly, revealing the hurt beneath her controlled exterior. Bill took a deep breath, knowing this moment was inevitable. "Emma, I wanted to tell you. I planned to tell you everything last night, but you found the letter before I could. I didn't want to deceive you, but I was afraid that if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't see me the same way." Emma's eyes filled with tears as she struggled to understand. "So, all this time, you were William Thompson, the heir to the Thompson fortune? And you let me believe you were just Bill, an ordinary guy?" Bill reached out to her, but she stepped back, keeping her distance. "Yes, I am William Thompson, but the life I was living before I met you, it felt empty, meaningless. I came here to find something real, and I found you." Emma shook her head, feeling a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, confusion, and a lingering love for the man she thought she knew. "But you lied to me, Bill. You let me believe in a version of you that wasn't real." How can I trust anything you say now?" Bill's heart ached seeing the pain in her eyes. "Emma, I understand why you feel betrayed, but my feelings for you are genuine. Everything we've shared, every moment, those were real. I didn't want my identity to overshadow what we have." Emma looked down, the weight of the revelation pressing heavily on her. "I need time, Bill. I need to figure out what all of this means. Right now, I need to be alone." Bill nodded, his own eyes misting over. "I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting for you, whenever you're ready to talk." Emma turned and left the break room, the distance between them feeling like a chasm. Bill watched her go, his heart heavy with regret and hope. He knew that giving her space was the right thing to do, even though it tore him apart inside. Over the next few days, the absence of Emma's presence was palpable. Bill continued his routine at the bookstore, but everything felt different, overshadowed by the uncertainty of their future. Emma, meanwhile, grappled with her conflicting emotions, trying to reconcile the man she loved with the truth she had discovered. The confrontation had left them both wounded, but it also laid bare the depth of their feelings. As they navigated this tumultuous time, both Bill and Emma held on to a fragile hope that their love could endure, even in the face of such a profound revelation. In the days following their confrontation, Bill couldn't stop thinking about Emma's letter and the connection to the Thompson family it hinted at. Determined to uncover the truth, he delved into the past, researching old family records and speaking to those who might hold pieces of the puzzle. Bill visited his family's estate, a place he hadn't seen in months. He sought out the housekeeper, Mrs. Henderson, who had been with the family for decades and knew its history better than anyone. He explained the situation, hoping she might shed some light on the mysterious letter. Mrs. Henderson looked pensive as she recalled a conversation she had overheard many years ago. "Your mother, God rest her soul, mentioned something on her deathbed," she said, her voice tinged with sorrow and nostalgia. "She spoke of a daughter she had before she married your father. She said she had to give her up, that the child was placed in an orphanage." Bill's heart pounded as he listened, the pieces starting to fit together. "Did she say why or where?" Mrs. Henderson shook her head. "No, but she did say she regretted it every day of her life. It was a secret she carried to protect the family, but it weighed heavily on her." Armed with this new information, Bill intensified his search. He contacted adoption agencies, scoured orphanage records, and pieced together timelines. His determination paid off when he found a record of a baby girl, born around the same time his mother would have had her child, placed in an orphanage under circumstances that matched Mrs. Henderson's account. The more Bill dug, the clearer it became. Emma was indeed his half-sister, the daughter his mother had given up. The revelation left him reeling, a mix of shock, disbelief, and a profound sadness. He had fallen in love with Emma, only to discover that she was his sister, a truth that changed everything. The weight of this knowledge was almost unbearable. He knew he had to tell Emma, but the thought of causing her more pain filled him with dread. How could he explain this to her? How would she react to knowing they were siblings? Bill realized that his mother's secret, intended to protect the family, had only created more heartache. Now, it was up to him to handle this revelation with care, to ensure that Emma knew the truth and that they could navigate this unexpected and complicated reality together. With the weight of the newfound knowledge bearing down on him, Bill knew he couldn't delay any longer. He had to tell Emma the truth. He arranged to meet her at the park where they had shared so many happy moments. The setting, now colored by the urgency and gravity of his revelation, felt different. Emma arrived, her expression a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. She had spent the past few days grappling with her own thoughts and feelings, trying to make sense of everything. "Bill, what's this about? You said it was important," she asked, her voice steady but tinged with unease. Bill took a deep breath, his heart aching with the knowledge of the pain he was about to cause. "Emma, there's something I discovered about your past, about our past. It changes everything." Emma's eyes widened with confusion. "What do you mean?" Bill handed her the documents he had found, the adoption records and the details that connected their lives in ways neither had imagined. "Emma, you're my half-sister. My mother had a child before she married my father, and that child was you. She gave you up for adoption to protect the family's reputation." The color drained from Emma's face as she processed his words. She looked at the papers, then back at Bill, her emotions a whirlwind of shock, betrayal, and disbelief. "You're saying we're siblings?" Bill nodded, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Yes, Emma. I didn't know until recently. I was as shocked as you are now, but I had to tell you the truth." Emma staggered back, her mind reeling. I can't believe this. Everything we felt, everything we shared, it wasn't real?" "It was real, Emma," Bill insisted, stepping closer but keeping a respectful distance. "Our connection, our feelings, they were real. This revelation doesn't change the fact that I care deeply about you, but it does change the nature of our relationship." Emma's eyes filled with tears, and she turned away, needing space to think. "I need time, Bill. I need to process all of this." Bill watched her go, his heart breaking for the pain he had caused. He knew she needed time to come to terms with the truth, just as he had. Days turned into weeks, and during that time, both Bill and Emma grappled with their emotions. Emma sought solace in solitude, reflecting on their past and the new reality. She thought about the love they had shared and the bond that had formed between them, despite everything. Eventually, Emma reached out to Bill, asking to meet again. They sat together on a bench in the park, the same place where their relationship had begun to blossom. "Bill," Emma started, her voice soft but determined, "this revelation has been incredibly hard for me to accept, but I've had time to think, to reflect on everything. And I realized that, despite the shock and the confusion, the bond we share is still important to me. You're my brother, and I want to understand what that means for us." Bill nodded, his heart swelling with relief and gratitude. "Emma, I feel the same way. Our relationship may have changed, but my feelings for you haven't. I want to be a part of your life, to support you and be there for you as a brother." They embraced, both feeling a sense of peace and acceptance. The love they had for each other, though transformed, remained strong. Together, they began to navigate their new reality, understanding that their connection was unbreakable, no matter how it had evolved. With their new understanding and acceptance of their relationship as siblings, William and Emma decided to channel their emotional journey into something positive and meaningful. They recognized that their unique bond and shared history could be a powerful force for good. One evening, sitting together in William's apartment, they discussed their future and how they could make a difference in the world. "Emma," William began, "I've been thinking a lot about what we can do with the resources we have. I want to honor our mother's memory and your incredible strength. What if we create a foundation to help others like you, children who grew up in orphanages?" Emma's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "I love that idea, William. We could provide support, education, and opportunities for children who don't have families. We could help them build better futures." They spent the next few months meticulously planning their new venture. They met with lawyers, social workers, and educators to design a comprehensive program that would address the needs of orphans and vulnerable children. They decided to name the foundation the Thompson Emma Foundation, combining their names to symbolize their unity and purpose. The foundation's mission was to provide shelter, education, mentorship, and emotional support to children in orphanages. They established scholarship programs, vocational training, and mental health services, aiming to give these children the tools they needed to succeed in life. William used his wealth to purchase and renovate buildings that would serve as safe havens for the children. These facilities were not just places to live, but vibrant centers of learning and growth. Emma, with her first-hand experience, helped design the programs and outreach efforts, ensuring that they were compassionate and effective. As they worked together, William and Emma found a new sense of fulfillment and purpose. Their bond as siblings deepened, built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to their cause. They supported each other through the challenges of establishing the foundation, drawing strength from their relationship. The grand opening of the first Thompson-Emma Foundation Center was a moment of triumph. They stood side by side, addressing a crowd of supporters, donors, and children who would benefit from their efforts. William spoke first, his voice steady and full of emotion. "Today, we honor the memory of my mother, who taught me the importance of compassion, and we celebrate the resilience of my sister, Emma, whose strength has inspired this foundation. Together, we are committed to giving every child the chance to dream, to learn, and to thrive." Emma followed, her eyes shining with determination. This foundation is a testament to the power of love and the strength of family. We are here to support and uplift those who need it most, to ensure that every child knows they are valued and loved. The applause was thunderous, and as William and Emma looked at each other, they felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Their new beginning was not just about their relationship, but about the countless lives they would touch and improve. The Thompson-Emma Foundation grew rapidly, making a significant impact on the lives of many children. William and Emma dedicated themselves to their work, finding joy and purpose in their mission. They had turned their personal trials into a beacon of hope for others, building a legacy of love, compassion, and resilience that would endure for generations to come.